after Quran burning backlash, Sweden approves Torah burning. In an unexpected turn of events in Sweden, a provocative protest took an unexpected twist when Syrian-origin Ahmad Alush initially granted permission to burn the Torah and Bible as part of a demonstration, and but then he dramatically altered his plans. Poised to light the holy books in front of the Israeli embassy, Alush abruptly discarded his lighter and declared, "I'm a Muslim, we don't burn books. I want to show that we have respect for each other." This abrupt change came as a surprise, given the original protest was seemingly retaliatory to an earlier Quran burning incident. However, Alush's initial plan was not without severe backlash. Israeli President Isaac Herzog and Ariel Muzicant, president of the European Jewish Congress, strongly condemned the proposed act. Moreover, this saga has shaken Sweden's international relationships, drawing fierce criticism from Muslim majority nations and the UN Human Rights Council, threatening its NATO aspirations and exposing the delicate balance between freedom of expression and preventing religious hatred. Oh boy. So, there's a lot to unpack here. So, as we have been covering recently, there has been a lot of anger and hatred towards Sweden because Sweden allowed an Iraqi Christian refugee to burn and stomp on, put bacon on a Quran in front of the largest mosque in Stockholm. And this isn't the first time that there's been Quran burning in Sweden. Ramses Paludan, a far right politician, has also been doing that recently, and it's caused a lot of problem with Sweden's NATO membership because Turkey is blocking it and it has to be unanimous vote. And so, in response, there was this guy from Syria, and he's like, "Oh, okay, you want to burn the Quran? Okay, well, I'll go burn the other books." And it's kind of funny because I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I don't know this for a fact, this is speculation, but a lot of times when there's like a Quran burning incident, the knee jerk response is like, "Well, you would never do this to the Torah." Like, it's like them trying to say, like, "Oh, you're too much of a, a weakling to do this to like the Jewish religion because you're Zionist," or like other lame accusations. The same way where if you like blaspheme Hinduism, they're like, "Well, you wouldn't dare do this to Islam." Blah blah blah. It's like, okay, you know what? Watch me. So, um, uh, he asked for permission to burn the Torah in front of the Israeli embassy. And at first, there was a little back and forth about if it was going to actually happen. And then Sweden granted him the approval to do it. He was fully allowed to do it. And then, it was his time. He held a press conference or whatever. And then when the time came, he threw down the lighter and he said, "No, this is not a part of my religion. We don't do this, blah, blah, blah." Basically, he turned it into a one man protest in favor of respecting religious texts, respecting sacred texts, not doing this kind of desecration. Um, and yeah, but there's a comment that made me really angry from a Jewish group. But before I go into that, Armin, what is your initial reaction to how this Torah burning played out?
Yes, I know my mic is. All right, so I have a couple of points. First of all, he says, "We, I'm a Muslim. We don't burn books." So that's an obvious fallacy there. It's an overgeneralization. Just in the same way that you shouldn't generalize bad things about entire group of people. If you find something positive, if you think something is positive, that is also something that is a fallacy if you generalize about an entire group of people. I mean, we don't burn books. You could say I don't burn books, but if we here means Muslims, well, sir, I have some news for you because they be burning books. Muslims have burned books, a lot of books in history, entire libraries of books that were in the Quran. I mean, because they were in the Quran. Ali famously has a quote. Ali, the fourth Khalifa of Sunnis or the first Imam of Shias, Omar also burnt a lot of books when he invaded many countries, right? Iranian books. The Arabs, when they invaded Iran, not all Arabs, the ones specifically, the ones that were attacking, when they came across libraries, they burned entire libraries of books. Ali, they were asked Ali one time, should we burn these books? He said yes, because if there's anything good in them, it's already in the Quran, and if it's not in the Quran, they're worthless, right? If they have anything that is not in the Quran, it's worthless. So he said, burn them all. Um, but also, the Muslims have a history of burning the Quran, even, right? So Osman burned a whole copies of Quran, apparently according to his, Islamic history, according to their own sayings, that were had differences to the Quran. But when you burn copies of Quran, but because of slight differences, that would involve burning verses of it that are exactly the same as the original Quran. So yes, when Osman was burning books that were variations of the Quran, he was burning books. So again, when you say we are Muslims, we don't burn the Quran, that's obviously false. And that those book burnings are actually the wrong morally, ethically, legally, are wrong because first of all, they are other people's books. When people burn books today, the Quran, as a sign of protest, it's a book that they purchased. It's their property. They're not stealing someone else's property to burn it. When Muslims burn books throughout history, they were burning other people's books, and there were books that were the only source of containing, preserving those information. Right now, when you burn the Quran as a sign of protest, the Quran is not getting eliminated. It's on the internet, it's everywhere. But when Muslims were burning books when they invaded different countries, an entire field of science and philosophy and poetry and history were lost. Those were the only copies of those books. There is a wealth of information that is completely lost in history because of Muslims burning books. So that's my first point. Sorry, this is gonna take a while. Um, you mentioned somebody from Israel condemning this book book burning of the
Oh, just
Torah.
wait. I want to read the full comment because it pisses me off so much.
Okay, so I'm not going to talk about that. Yes, I do want to mention that this should not be Sweden should not be um, the burden of fighting for freedom of speech should not be on the shoulders of Sweden. I highly recommend people
Mm.
from more countries to get involved in this, because if Sweden is left alone, I know people from Denmark have recently have done this, which is good, but it's going to be harder to take international actions against Sweden if there's citizens from multiple countries doing this, because it's really hard for countries to come and try to boycott or condemn 10 European countries, for example. That would be almost impossible. So I really think now it's the time for people in Europe to stand up with Sweden to make it so that the burden is not all on Sweden. But go on, you wanted to say something. I have other points to make, but yeah.
No, no, no. I love Watcher gave the comment, welcome to Islamic history with Armin Navabi. I'm like, yes, students, everyone sit in a circle. We will listen to Professor Navabi. Do you have anything else you want to say, or should I read this comment?
You read that comment, yeah, for now.
Okay, so this is a comment that kind of set me off a little bit. So the president of the European Jewish Congress, Ariel Muzicant, gave this statement. Quote, provocative, racist, anti Semitic, and sickening acts such as these have no place in any civilized society. Stamping on the deepest religious and cultural sensibilities of people is the clearest expression possible to send a message that minorities are unwelcome and unrespected, he added. This is what made me angry. These actions, based on contorted and specious free speech arguments, are a disgrace to Sweden, and any democratic government worthy of the same name should prevent it.
What? Wait, what is it? What is the point here? Do these people not understand? What do
It's
you?
anti-free expression. The point is it's anti-free expression. That's the point of the statement.
I mean, I don't understand what these people want. First of all, where these
Any
people are so
democratic
selective.
government worthy of the name should prevent it.
Why? Why? What? Like, I mean, I don't know how to respond to these because these are just words that don't mean anything. What is the contradiction between a country valuing its free expression and being a democracy? Like, I don't even know where to start. Like, mm, usually people might argue the other way around, but why? How do you even respond to something so foolish? How could you? Why would democracy be a contradiction to you having free speech, the right to have to free expression?
No. His statement is against free expression.
I know, but he's saying like he's suggesting okay, he's suggesting that if you want to earn to be a democratic country, then you should stand against such free expression. If you want to earn
Exactly,
the
which
right to.
doesn't make sense.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
How
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah,
that?
yeah.
That does not make sense. Like, where's the contradiction between being a democracy and having freedom of expression? You would actually think that somebody would argue the other way around. That to be an effective democracy, what is a democracy? A democracy is a society that is ruled by the expression of opinions of many people. So the higher freedom of expression that you have, the healthier of a democracy you are. So
Mhm.
how is he making his point? Like, is he just making a point without arguing for it? Like, why would you not be a democracy if you are having such a high standard of free expression? Again, I don't know how to respond to it because it's just so nonsensical.
Yeah. I just I and man, it's just really frustrating to see people immediately turn against these values that are the origin of the rights that we are now afforded because it suddenly targets them.
Exactly.
And it doesn't even target them, it targets a book that contains an idea. Because Shikha is saying, I think it's totally anti Semitic to burn the Torah or even Israeli flags. I completely disagree. But
Oh
but
my
Armin, a
god.
lot of people seem to think that burning the Torah is uniquely anti-Semitic versus burning the Quran. What how would you respond?
Why? Why? It's actually so anti-Semitic for you to say that. I think it's anti-Semitic to say that because it's a bigotry of lower expectation. Isn't it a form of bigotry of lower expectation?
Well,
Like
certainly
other people.
special
Yeah.
privileging.
Yeah, because you are deeming certain group of people to be more fragile, more sensitive. Doing the same things towards them will be seen as more hurtful. This is a form of bigotry. It is anti-Semitic, I think, to consider a certain group of people to be so fragile to not to be able to tolerate uh, a stance against their values and their beliefs. It's also
What if
anti-Muslim bigotry to suggest that okay, burning the Bible, sure, but you know how Muslims are, so maybe not the Quran. I mean, who's being the bigot here?
it's a
Right?
little bit like ridiculous to
Oh wait, Sheikha was being sarcastic. Well, here, Sheikha,
oh,
it's
there
not
was
fair.
and you
It's
made the
not.
same point multiple times, Shikha. How are we supposed to know?
Yeah, no, it's not fair to write a statement like that with no emoticons, no like forward slash s, and be like, oh hey, I was being sarcastic. Like a statement like that with no indications of this sarcasm. How is anybody supposed to perceive this as sarcasm
You know what? I think that
over
was
the
Shikha's
internet?
actual opinion, and then when we destroyed it, she was like, "Actually, that was
Yeah.
sarcastic."
I will decide whether my opinion is sarcasm or serious based on how it's being received. How about
Yeah.
that? It's Schrodinger's
It's
sarcasm,
flawless.
basically.
Flawless technique.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, but yeah, that I think that comment by the president of the European Jewish Congress made me upset, mostly because I was like, God damn, the last thing we need right now is more, especially after what happened with the United Nations last week and the statement by the United Nations Human Rights Council condemning the Quran burning. The last thing we need right now are more people betraying this value, betraying this seminal, integral, foundational value. That's the last thing we need. We don't need more attacks on this right now. And so I think that's why that particular comment got me so upset. Um, yeah. Should we read a few comments or do you have any other
I
things you want to
I
say?
do have I do want to say something about
Oh yeah, go for it.
respecting people's beliefs nonsense, okay? This standard is so nonsensical because this person said like, "Oh, I'm not going to burn the Torah because I don't know, we respect other people's scripture." Okay, maybe you do, but you know who doesn't? Do you know who doesn't? Allah doesn't. Muhammad doesn't. So I don't know about this person's specific standards, okay? But I know the standards of the Quran and I know the standards of Hadith. And they do not respect other people's religions or scripture. Far from it. So it's so nonsensical for people to try to stand against burning of the Quran or Torah for the sake of respecting other people's religion, because based on that standard, condemning burning the Quran or the Torah would require you, if you are applying the same standards, would require you to condemn the Quran, the Hadith, the Bible, and the Torah itself. They are filled with teachings of disrespect, insult, condemnation,
Incitement to
and
violence.
incitement to violence against people of with different beliefs. So it's so hypocritical to come and pretend that this is about respecting other people's religions when the texts themselves don't respect other people's religion, and the people and don't even respect the people themselves, don't respect them enough to provide them with the right to live in peace. It's the standards are like, imagine looking at a text and a book that says like to asks you to go kill people with different beliefs, and then condemning the person that is burning the text without causing any harm or asking for any harm to any individual that believes in it. You're just burning pieces of paper, and between these two you decide to condemn the person that is burning paper over the paper that is asking you to burn people. I don't
Yep.
understand. The
Yep.
priorities are
Yep.
insane.
Yep.
The priorities are insane.
And it's privileged, right? This idea is privileged above other ideas. Um, so much so that it is a sanctity that you cannot touch. We put it, yeah. Let me. I'm about to go on a rant. Let me stop. Watcher, who is living in Sweden, our Swedish friend, is saying so. Khamenei has accused us of declaring war on the Islamic world recently.
Yes, I saw that. I saw that.
Congratulations, my friend. If this is all it takes, damn. um,
Well, there's so much going on there because he is being compared with Khomeini, who issued a fatwa on Salman Rushdie, and it would
mm,
be seen as weak if compared to him. He didn't do anything, but by doing this, he is actually now being compared more because he didn't issue a fatwa and Khomeini did. So even
mm.
though he did declare this, he still is being portrayed as weak because he didn't go as far as Khomeini.
Why do you think he hasn't issued a fatwa?
Oh,
Why
because
why
right
doesn't he
now
just
that
do
would
it?
be, oh my god, right now that would be insane. The
Why?
international pressure. But I mean, the international pressure on Khamenei right now, if he issues a fatwa on somebody like
I
that,
mean, I know
basically,
this, but other people don't know this. And also, which
no,
is more
okay,
important?
that would,
Which is more important? Through his own framework,
no,
shouldn't this other stuff be more
what?
important?
No. Through his own framework, nothing is more important than keeping the Islamic Republic standing.
Oh,
Khomeini
true. Because Yeah.
Khomeini famously said that if we have to choose between the life of the Mehdi and keeping up the Islamic Republic, we have to choose keeping up the Islamic
That's
Republic.
freaking
This,
wild.
yeah.
That's freaking that quote still gets to me. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have a point, sir. You have a point. Um Space Alia is saying it's become an average Tuesday to see a Quran burn on the news here in Sweden.
I mean, that proves our point, though. It becomes normalized. This is a process on desensitizing people. I'm already seeing the
True.
desensitization in effect. Keep this up for another 5 or 10 years. I'm burning a Quran will not make it even in the news.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to a world where I will go and anybody could go and be like, "Hey, I'm burning a Quran today," and they would just get no reaction, zero
Yeah.
reaction.
Well,
Like that
that's
would,
what Dee was talking about last week. She was like, all like Pakistan in particular freaking the F out about this. And then he's like, the Muslims that were literally standing right there in Sweden were not ripping their hair out the way that you guys are, and they were watching it happen with their own two eyes.
yeah.
And so I think you're totally right about the desensitization. This is a funny comment. Numan is saying, when Armin said "we Muslims," my heart stopped
Why? I didn't get it.
because
Oh.
you had a slip of the tongue and you said "we Muslims," like meaning
No,
that's you yourself.
no, I didn't have a
Like,
slip of
yeah.
the tongue. I was talking on that guy's behalf.
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
Yeah, yeah.
It's funny. Um, Gasian American gave us $5. Thank you, Gasian, saying, if I burn the Quran as an offering to my ancestors, may they convert and immigrate from Yama to Paradise, or must they await rebirth? This is a good question. If you engage in ancestor worship and burn a Quran, are your ancestors now Muslim? Did you just make your ancestors take the Shahada? No. These are important questions. And I love this occasion again, just nailing it out of the park, saying Armin's hot take, oxidized paper, not people.
I mean, if you have to oxidize,
Yeah, exactly.
yes. Yeah.
And
Hey,
this is
this is a good comment that you picked. Yeah, thank you, Asian American.
and Timur on Twitch, guys, don't forget to go follow us on Twitch, is saying, where do you draw the line between bigotry and free speech? Here's the thing, I don't. Trick question, you
You
don't.
don't. You
Trick question
don't.
is
That's a
you
good
don't.
question. Yeah, bigotry is a form of expressing bigotry is protected under free speech. Why do you
And it
think
should be.
free speech? It should be. Why do you think that free speech is only for good speech? Free speech. I mean, guys, if free speech was only for good speech, we wouldn't need free speech because it would be
Exactly.
just, it wouldn't need defending because it's just good speech.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can condemn it. We can say that we find this speech disgusting. We can rebuke any
Yeah.
bigotry, right? But we shouldn't put conditions around it. Anything. Anything at all. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the trick question, you don't.